Good evening, friends, family. Thank you for being here. We're going to begin with just a few moments of reflective and meditative music.
For Sister Tari.
Thank you all, family and friends of Tari's and Tom's, for being here and present with us tonight all together to commemorate, to love, and to celebrate my sister Tari. Her death, while not a total surprise, as she struggled so mightily with health issues over the past few years, was nonetheless unexpected and a shock. We are still reeling and attempting to breathe it all in as we are able. This service and this space this evening allow us all to both grieve together and to remember and to celebrate Tari's life and her living. Our hearts and love go out especially to you, Tom, and to dear Caitlin, and to Calvin. Also, our embrace enfolds Tari and Tom's other grandchild, Rocco, who's here, and her mother, Emily, and all of her family. It should be said that we are also live streaming this service, and there are those who could not be here in person. They would have wanted to, but are very much with us in spirit and watching and participating from a distance. First and foremost, my older brother, Chris, who is in Europe and joining us here at midnight, his time. And an array of Tari's nieces and nephews, both scattered around the States and across the sea. We welcome them here. Tari's cousin, Francesca, and many other distant relatives, loved ones, and old friends who may also be with us virtually, welcome. We are grateful for your presence as well. May we first hear the wisdom of the book of Ecclesiastes from the Hebrew Scriptures. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. a time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time for peace. Tari didn't have much time for pomp and circumstance, let alone any kind of religious formality. She probably would have eschewed any of this that we're doing here, but in conversation with Tom about the service in Tari's honor, we both said, well, she's not here. We'll do what we want. So, here we are. Tari, forgive us. In this spirit, though, of honoring and celebrating Tari, whether she likes it or not, and in the fullness of this moment, and affirming also the words of the poet of the Ecclesiastes passage, who references the interplay of time and of seasons, of cycles, may we also, in the presence of the mystery of faith in life and death, acknowledge and invoke the divine spirit. So I'd like to invite you to bow your hearts in prayer with me. O loving one who has mysteriously knitted together this wondrous world and who knows all things in heaven and on earth, may our hearts be filled with a gentle trust that by night and by day, at all times and in all seasons, we may without fear commend all and commend Tari especially, our wife, our mother, our sister, our aunt, our grandmother, our friend, to your never failing love now and forever. Amen. So how many here think, along with me, that Tari should have been a stand-up comedian? She missed, okay, thank you for the hands. Yes, she missed her calling, didn't she? Now, as her little brother, throughout the years, I was trying to encourage her to give it a go. Tari, just give it a go. To no avail. So it was we, her family and friends, that had to put up with her humor, which, by the way, as anyone who knew her well knew, it could be cutting. Her biting sarcasm, I think, could put Don Rickles to shame. But she loved. She had a big heart. She was my big sister. With love and a sense of superior rank, she would at key moments call me Lily. Lily. Sometimes I feel my sister's humor could occasionally mask a deeper pain, possibly her way of managing a plethora of health issues and life's twists and turns. Sometimes her sarcasm could deflect, sometimes from a deeper connection, a deeper conversation, but I always knew that was my sister. I knew that was Tari, and I rolled with it. Maybe many of us here rolled with it. Life and living are complex. Yes, Tari was complex. We may not have always seen eye to eye, Tari and me, but that made life and relationship lively. I knew that my big sister always cared, respected, and loved me as a brother. the delivery of some big, juicy navel oranges at our doorstep, or the surprise gift of a Chicago deep dish pizza delivered on dry ice to our door were simple and concrete testaments to Tari's personality, her embrace, and her love and her care. It stood in as an equivalent to the grace of someone handing you a hot bowl of chicken soup when you are ill. The gesture itself is love. Thank you, sis. Thank you. To Tom and to Caitlin, to all of us here, we need not project and place Tari into a heaven that she herself may not have held to, but rather to gently trust in her finding that peace that passes all understanding, and the final and the deep rest that she deserves. And for each of us, may we know in our collective grief, as Stephen Levine wrote, we have within us all that it takes to face the immensity of this pain, to let it soak in, to learn to breathe it in to the heart, to let it burn its way to completion. Amen. Though he couldn't be here, before in a few moments we open up the space, as I mentioned to a few of you, for reflections or a word about Tari, we would love to have you share. Because he couldn't be here, my brother Chris, across the seas and who's with us here on live stream, wrote some words and he asked me to read them for our sister, so I'm going to do that now. Chris writes, to my sister Tari, my big sister, always just ahead, both a frightening and a wonderful model at times in my life. My first cigarette, my peek into the world of teenage-ness, with promises of pleasure and trouble. Yes, you were at the center of a lot of trouble, mostly for yourself. But you were uncompromising in your search for freedom. Your right to speak up and out, to share your peace of mind, this unattainable freedom. Not gentle, oh no, this wasn't one of your strengths, but honest, spontaneous, and deeply caring of those who you believed deserved your love. We didn't meet often through the years, since you left home, studied, traveled, became a mother, and I was off on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. But I will remember forever and with gratitude our last meeting in Cleveland a year and a half ago. You opened slowly, rightfully concerned about the pandemic that was still raging, but our eyes and our hearts met, and it was a beautiful gift for me. You will always be a part of me. What you were part of implanting in me, courage to speak up, total dedication to those you loved, most clearly reflected in the never-ending commitment to Raphael, your son, my nephew, who left us all too soon, and who remained a sad hole in you, a burden you carried, the memories you nurtured. Chris writes, now I wish you and deeply believe in the peace that you have finally found, leaving behind physical weight and allowing your, although I know you would hate to admit it, sweet and loving soul to fly. To Tom, Caitlin, and Rocco, I had been thinking for days what words of comfort I might offer. I can imagine the immense emptiness that you feel. Tari has always been a cyclone at the center of everything. And yet, I also wish you the deep breath that comes from knowing that Tari is in a good place, a peaceful place, that her pain is gone, that she has another purpose now. Please know, all of you, that you will always be part of Torch, Clasper, Miller, Lagerkrantz, Fenty, Tolmqvist clan. You can and must stay in close contact with us. It's what families do. Love, Chris. Now we're going to have some words shared from Moa, Chris's daughter, one of Tari's nieces who's living in Sweden, and Kathy was asked to read these words of Moa's here just now.
Dear Tari, I'm feeling the loss of you tonight. My favorite fun-loving aunt with the biggest heart. It seems so unreal that I won't get a funny Facebook clip from you next week. That you will not be in Cleveland the next time I visit. That you will never get to meet my kids, 2 of them for the first time. That you are not here anymore. I would have loved to be there tonight with you all, because you, Tari, meant more to me than I think you knew. Because I'm so thankful for the way you took me in, supported me, and generously, always made me feel like a part of your family, even though we live so far apart. Thank you for all the memories in Cleveland, especially this summer I spent with you and Grandma Sandra. For coming to Sweden to be a part of our wedding, for always caring. I love you. It consoles me when I think that you are with Rafa now. I will cherish you in my memories and heart like I do with Rafa. I love you both. To Caitlin and Tom, and the kids, to Calvin and Rocco, always know that we are here for you, we are your family, and that we love you. Hugs, Moa.
So now it was a time, Tom's and our wish to allow for a space of quiet, a time of shared silence together that would give way to open reflection space, loving and humorous embraces, remembrances, anecdotes, and words about Tari. Any of us here who feel moved in the next time should feel free to stand where you are and offer a brief word. The day that I first heard about Tari's death, I turned, as I often do, to poetry, and I happened to pick up a book of poetry by the Persian Sufi poet you may know by the name of Rumi, and opened a book of poems and read this poem for the very first time. It seemed mysteriously and powerfully to give voice to my own feelings in that moment, but simultaneously and rather strangely, but beautifully, it seemed to be speaking Tari's own voice as well. Here is the poem I read. I'm not that lion battling the enemy. Confronting myself keeps me busy enough. I am the soil love seeds. Roses and lilies bloom from this mud. I ached from separation. I cloaked myself in night, emerged a shining moon. Consumed in love's fire, I slip through any opening. I rise like smoke. I am a child. Love is my teacher, waking me from ignorance. Like love, I will live on, radiant, eternal, when eating and sleeping are done. Till then, like Boubacar, the master musician, I quiet my mind and listen. In silence, we hear body become spirit. In silence, we hear body become spirit. So in this space now and out of the silence, please, may any of you who feel moved and would like to please feel free to stand where you're at in your chair and speak so that we might hear a word, share a word, an anecdote, a reflection of Tari.
Well, I'm going to say something. Hi, Chris. I'm Julie Rowland from Passy, and I've known Tari since kindergarten. Sandra taught Tari and I and quite a few other people in Dudley Field years ago, long time ago. I'm 75 now, so you know how long ago that could be. And I knew Tari all those years. We didn't go to school together for the first 5, but then later we went to school together, and she, after high school, went off to Up With People. And when she came back from Up With People, she decided to leave them. She lived in my house for quite a while, and then she and I had an apartment for a year, and then we rented a house for a year, and we had a blast. And I really cannot go into all of the things we did. Too many young years here. But we had a good time, and Tari was a wonderful friend, and we had a good time, and I'll miss her a lot.
I can't believe I had the nerve to stand up and say something. But she would want me to.
Judy, make sure you speak up.
Tari and I met about 30 years ago, and both real estate gals. And we gravitated to each other and came up with an idea of we would have a lot of fun if we worked together and sort of partner up, which we did. And we had roles. We had good cop and bad cop. However, what happened over time was, depending on with whom we were trying to convince they should list a house with us or buy the right house, Tari would sometimes quiet down because I took over. And I would turn into bad cop, and she was good cop. And when we would leave, she would say, I can't believe how you were. And she was so much calmer and nicer. Anyway, the point of my story is the whole adventure, all the adventures with Tari over the years was the most amazing roller coaster ride I could ever have ridden together. And we shared an office together, and we both still have a lot of stuff in our office. I will miss her terribly, but I'm glad. I know where she is, and she's going to be in a really good place. And she's going to be with her son. So, miss you so much, Bud, as you know. Last little joke to some of this. She always said to me, I'm going to die in my 70s. And she just had that feeling. I would say, well, you're not allowed to do that, because then you might go before me, and I'd rather go before you, because I don't want to deal with it if you go before I do. She'd say, that's why I'm going to go. That's why I'm not, you can't go before me. She wouldn't be able to stand that either. Well, anyway, she was ready to go to a place. Pain is gone. All the pain is gone. And I will love you forever, and I'll see you when I catch up with you one day.
I've known Tari since forever. We went to school together. I think I met her in elementary school. And I've known Tom for about 38 years now. And I remember Tom called me and said, hey, Dave, I met this girl, Tari. She said, you went to school with her. You think I got a shot? I said, go for it, Tom. And the rest is history. She never blamed me for it at all. But Tari, she had a way of calming me down. I've always had a temper, and then when my PTSD came along, my temper got worse. And Tari always had a way to ground me and tell me what was important, and not getting angry over something stupid. And Tari coined the phrase for me that, Dave, you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. It was true. You know, and the guys on the football team gave me the nickname of Dumb Dave, and I always had trouble, getting the Grace to play on Friday night, and Tari never had that problem. But she said, "Why do you let them call you that?" And I said, "Well, everybody's got a nickname, and that's what they gave me." And she yelled at him about it. But she always grounded me. And even in the last couple of years when I hadn't seen her, I work at part-time at Heinen's, like most old guys do. And she'd come in and we talked and reminisced and laughed. And when the pandemic hit, she stopped coming, but we still kept in touch. There's a group of us from high school that have a chat on Messenger. And I'm supposed to tell you, Caitlin, that they're all over the country, those of us that chat, and I want you to know how much we like you on. And she always had something to say. real old, but we get old. And I didn't, I wish I had time to say goodbye. She knows.
I'd say something quickly. Aunt Tari, she's my aunt, so, Uncle Tom and my dad are brothers. So I was talking to my dad about her passing and Aunt Tari and maybe my brother too. And most of my childhood can come down to my mother, who is very conservative Republican, and Aunt Tari, who is Aunt Tari, coming at each other. I do believe they liked each other at some point in the probably 30 years they were around each other, but that's really the biggest memory I have of her. And in that, I now as an adult appreciate how unapologetically herself she was. And that takes a strong woman to stand your ground and be who you are and not ashamed of anything and everything. And so that's what I think. She will be missed.
Hello, and thank everybody for coming. I'm Kevin O'Grady. I'm a member of the O'Grady Sweeney clan, as we used to call it. I miss Tari because her political views and mine were, well, worlds apart. And when we had the house in Beechwood and the families would get together for whatever occasion, I kept trying to tell myself, don't bring up politics. Inevitably, we brought up politics. And more than one time, for Bud Sweeney, boys and Martha's dad, had to separate us, because he knew it would come to words we might regret. I really miss her for those exchanges. I know the last couple of years have been tough. I hadn't seen her for several years because of the health issue, but I'll always kind of cherish and remember some of those discussions we had. They were well worth it. Thank you.
That was nice.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Sweeney. Tom is my uncle, Caitlin my cousin. Just wanted to say it occurred to me, sitting here in our first moment of silence, it strikes me as a little funny because I think at least half of us expected Tari to speak up. We can all agree Tari was a great conversation starter. She was always very on the ball, always wanting to know the heart of the conversation. She put 100% into it. No matter how old I was speaking with her, if I was 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, look me dead in the eye and always try to get to the root of the conversation. How does that make you feel? What do you truly believe in, Daniel? Every conversation I had with her was meaningful, and that was a really great thing.
That's nice.
So Tom reminded me that I played this at their wedding 34 years ago. Danny Boy, I was gonna play the parting glass, but I think Danny Boy is the one, so. For Terry and Tom, Caitlin, Calvin, Rocco.
I'd like to invite, if you would, Rocco up, because he's going to read to us in memory of his grandmother an excerpt from the writing of his father, Raphael, entitled All the Stars in the Sky. So, Rocco.
When I was just a little boy, my mom would tuck me in at night before bed, and I remember asking her if she loved me. She would laugh very hard, and I could sense a sort of pain in her heart. Like the question suggested, I thought maybe she did not love me even a little. My mom would lean in close, bringing the covers up tight to make me feel warm and safe. And she'd tell me that she loved me like all of the stars in the sky. She used to say very quietly, I love you more than anything, Raphael, like every star, big and little, in the whole universe. Do you know how much that is? Do you know how many little stars there are? Do you know how many big stars there are? And I'd smile and I'd put my hands and arms out as far as I could, stretch them, and she'd laugh and say, yes, honey, that's it. And you don't forget it. That's how much I love you. When she'd go away and close the door a little, I remember trying to think about her brand of infinity. I'd stare out the window or hard into the wall of my room and let my gaze go slack, trying to see the universe in such a way. Such infinite love. Now, I have the distinct knowledge of how far away I am from nothing. How far we all are if we just pay attention to the dumb thing we're in called life. So yes, my mom's right. We all have cancer, but the cancer I got, the cancer I'm talking about, let it grow, let it metastasize, let it grow all over us as a family. Let it grow, Father, let it come, Mother, let it sing, sister, let it feed, wife, and grow and eat, friends, and let it grow fat, child. So shall I, so shall I. It'll be enough love to eat for 100,000 years of suffering. 1,000,000 trillion, arms wide open.
Thanks, Rocco. Rafa's writing. I'm going to try something just a little different, and you'll give me a moment to close us off by actually using this little speaker over here. I'd like to put on a piece of music that I just listened to just the other day, and of course I've been thinking a lot about Tari, and I heard this and it just struck my heart. So I wish to share it, and may it take us out. It's an excerpt.
Disconnected.
Oh. Oh. Oh, yes. It's a piece that I thought would allow us to close our time together, and might we breathe it in. It's called It's So Quiet in Here by Van Morrison. And we know Van Morrison as the soulful Irish rhythm and blues singer-songwriter. It's so quiet in here. And the last lyric that I wanted to share with us and to take us out of here in a remembrance of Tari goes like this. He'll sing, big ships out in the night, and we're floating across the waves, sailing for some other shore where we can be what we want to be. Oh, this must be what paradise is like. Yeah, this must be what paradise is like. It's so quiet in here. It's so peaceful in here. It's so quiet in here. Peaceful in here.
It's so quiet in here. It's so peaceful in
quiet and so peaceful. Big ships out in the night. Yeah, we're floating across the waves, sailing for some other shore where we can be what we wanna be. Oh, this must be what paradise is like. Yeah, this must be what paradise is like, baby. It's so quiet in here, so peaceful, so quiet in here, peaceful in here. So quiet.